All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone, on a short week. Welcome to the Multi-Region Purchasing Co-op First Spotlight Series, all about commodity usage and tracking. And I do have a short PowerPoint presentation. We're going to show you some different documents. We're going to visit some websites and really talk about how to get it right throughout the school year. So I thank you for attending. I am Carrie Warnick, the program coordinator for Multi-Region Co-op, and I know I've got some schools on that are direct ship. We've got many of you that process through Multi-Region Co-op, and maybe a few that are not in the co-op but are always welcome to these trainings because they are geared towards everyone, and we try our best to come up with solutions for any district across the state. So yes, I'm going to say it. I'm a believer in the village. And you just saw Elizabeth pop up. So Elizabeth Gonzalez is our commodity specialist, as most of you should know. And we will be kind of sharing the training today because she's going to do a little bit of talking about one of the reports that we're going to review. All right, let me share my screen and get the presentation up. All right, so you should be seeing the first slide, and I will share this slide deck once we're done. And of course, as I mentioned, the training is recorded and will be placed on the MRPC YouTube channel later this afternoon. So for those that want to revisit the training, or for those that couldn't make it today. I learned yesterday that I've got 3 of my trainings that literally coincide with Region 11 Web SEM training. So didn't know that, but hey, that's why we record these sessions, right? Okay, so as I mentioned, this one is all about commodity usage and tracking and getting on top of using your pounds throughout the school year. We're going to unpack a lot of things during this 1 hour, and I have a slight feeling it might seep over into an hour 15 or a little beyond. You're obviously, if you need to go, you need to go. I totally get that. I always include my about slide, but you guys know who I am, so we're going to move on. So what are the course objectives today? Well, we're going to just briefly discuss what gets in the way of utilizing your pounds, how to minimize unused inventory. What is your responsibility in all of this? What are the tracking systems? What should you have logins to, basically? And where do we begin with all of that? And then how to set up your own tracking system. We're going to give some examples. We've got some templates we created that we think are pretty easy, but we've also got the easy button as well to show you, because you know how much I love the easy button. Okay, so we're all aware there's no more processing for this current school year of 23-24. So how did we get to this place? Well, first off, statewide, multiple CEs left pounds sitting on the table. And we are a large state, and lots of small amounts add up to a very large amount. Now, this past year, TDA pulled a total of 21 million commodity pounds out of all the accounts together. That's a lot of pounds, even for a large state. Now, all that excess unused carryover pounds are placed into the TDA state accounts, which you know, and TDA used those pounds to fulfill new truckload orders. That meant your entitlement that you thought you had spent on all these commodity pounds was actually returned to you for the pounds that they used from the previous school year. And I did have a lot of questions about this. How did this happen? What do we do with our entitlement now? A lot of you only process, and that is completely fine. But now you're sitting on all this extra money. You do feel obligated to spend it. But I want to say that USDA only expects you to spend what you can use. And sometimes that means, due to unforeseen circumstances, you may have excess funds that you just simply can't use, and that's okay. So in the bigger picture, the good news is that some of you just simply got free pounds for this school year, which opened up your entitlement to spend maybe on some more regular USDA foods or direct delivery foods, as they're so calling it, also known as brown box. Several of you received some of the pounds you lost at the end of the school year that you hadn't used. You got those back and no charge to your entitlement. But many of you literally paid for pounds that went to other districts across the state. And that was using your previous school year funds. And we don't want to see that happen. So we want to work as hard as we can to use all our pounds because your federal funds pay for those pounds. So that's the goal. So what does prevent you from using your pounds? Well, it's not just one entity. It's a multitude of entities and lots of reasons. And they're probably not even all listed here. But one, it can fall on you, the CE. Did you forecast and bank appropriately? Maybe you banked too many pounds. That can happen. Did you stay on top of your tracking and your monthly usage? Are you logging into the systems? Do you even have a login to the systems? Are you accidentally ordering from historical purchases in your distributor program, the software, your ordering software, versus an order guide that you've created where you know you're not going to make a mistake and possibly order an item that got subbed that had nothing to do with your banked pounds, because we know that happens. Now, is it on the processor? Possibly. We're still seeing slight production issues. I am still getting letters stating, hey, we're discontinuing this product. That puts you in a difficult place because if you had selected a product and planned it on your menu throughout the entire school year and a processor goes and discontinues that, you've got to pivot and pick a different product or rearrange your menu. It can become a lot of work on you. And I know all of us, because of COVID, became way more flexible than we probably thought we would ever be, but that has to continue even in this school year. I think it's here to stay, honestly, so we might as well get comfortable with that, which many of you are. Then, of course, if you're utilizing a distributor, going through, say, Labatt or Cisco or Gordon's, whatever, maybe they're failing to order and buy what you need, or maybe they're getting shorted by the processor, and now they're wanting to sub an item, and maybe they're subbing with an item that has nothing to do with your banked pounds. We see this happen still to this day. So we're going to talk about how do we minimize these things happening so that you are using your pounds throughout the school year. All right, so technically, what is your responsibility? And by the way, if you do have a question, go ahead and put it in chat, but there will be time at the end for questions. So I'll try to watch that as we get closer. All right, back to what is your responsibility? Well, USDA and TDA consider your banked pounds a commitment to use those banked pounds. TDA has implemented a goal as of last year for you to use 95% of your banked pounds. That should be your goal. Now, I will sit here and proudly say that in school year 1920, and I know Elizabeth is probably nodding her head yes, Multi-Region Co-op was on target for 95% usage of all commodity pounds co-op-wide. And what happened? COVID hit and school shut down. And Elizabeth was very bummed. I will be honest. She was so devastated. She was so proud, and she had a right to be. She worked hard to help you guys stay on track. We have maintained a pretty good record since then, even considering all the craziness that came after that first year and that we're continuing to see. But tracking and staying on top of your usage does work, and we have proved it, and we're continuing to prove it. But it takes everyone to be involved and be on top of it. Also, another really good reason to track is that during your AR, TDA will ask for your proof, documented proof, that you're verifying your sales. You are tracking your commodity usage. And there are so many ways to do that, and that's what we're going to show you today. All right, I'm going to open up the chat panel just to make sure I'm not seeing anything pop up. Kind of doing a few things here. All right, so far I'm not seeing much of anything. Okay. All right, so let's talk about zero usage and transfers and how all that works, because that is also part of your responsibility when we're talking about who is responsible. And it's being mindful of when you plan to use your pounds. Have you got it kind of laid out in a monthly plan, or maybe you've even got it laid out in your menu plan? Might be weekly, whatever that looks like, and however that works for you is the way you want to do it, right? There's not one size fits all on this, but there are some specific dates and times of the school year when you can do certain things and when you're expected to be reporting or at least answering to the ESC on what's going on with your commodity pounds. And we saw that this last year, a lot of changes occurred with ESCs sort of being thrown into commodity tracking. And we're all still working through that and, getting everyone on the same page, basically. So December 1st to the 15th is the first zero usage exercise. And this is where TDA is asking the child nutrition specialists at all the ESCs to contact all the processing schools with zero usage and get their plan. How are you going to plan to use those pounds? Now, luckily, if you are a school that, say, processed turkey for Thanksgiving, you've used those pounds. So you're not looking at unused turkey pounds. Many of you may be sitting on fish pounds because you serve fish during Lent in March, and you could very well have zero usage on a commodity like that in December. Maybe you do seasonal menus. Maybe you split using different processors for the same types of commodities. I've seen some of you start the school year with one processor for chicken products and end the school year with another processor for chicken products. You're being creative with your menus, you're doing different things, and all that is totally fine. But you're going to have to, what I'm going to call, defend yourself if you have pounds that you only plan to use in the second half of the school year. And make sure you're communicating with your ESCs and be mindful. If you haven't heard from your ESC and you're looking at your usage and you've got some zero usage accounts, reach out to your child nutrition specialist at your ESC and say, hey, I need to submit a plan of what I'm doing with these pounds in the second half of the school year, because you don't want to get caught in February. February 21st is the second zero usage exercise. And what we saw happen this past year is TDA looked at those with zero usage, and even though you requested pounds, they got denied. And that became a lot of work back and forth for everyone. Some schools did not get those pounds back, even though they used them by the end of the school year. So where I'm headed with this is obviously the king of all words, communication, right? So be on top of communicating when it's time to communicate. Now, there's also that transfer opportunity. So in January 1st, but probably the 4th when you come back from holiday break, through the end of April, TDA opens up the ability to transfer. Now, they do tend to have quite a bit of rules around transfers. We're continually trying to educate and get some changes with some of those transfers and the rules around them. One of them is if you didn't originally bank pounds with a processor, even though if you're in a co-op and that processor is awarded, they're not allowing you to pull or transfer pounds out of the state account. They're handling school-to-school transfers. So pay attention to the time frame and pay attention to where your usage is. If you see you are potentially falling short and you could give some pounds to a school that needs more pounds, but maybe, or vice versa, you need pounds from another school and maybe you're long in pounds, definitely reach out to Elizabeth or reach out to TDA and figure out how you can make that happen and get what you need and give what's not needed. So opportunities, right? One thing to know is that TDA will look back at historical usage, meaning were you on target for 10% or 12% per month throughout the school year? Did it look like you were truly using your pounds versus what you requested for the upcoming school year? So what does that mean? And we saw that happen this past year. Your historical usage can impact your future pounds. So something to be aware of. That is one of the main reasons I felt that this training was so necessary right out of the gate, because you want to get on top of it right away. Because in February, when you're spending your entitlement and you're in that program, WebSCM, what you spend, you want it to stick. You don't want TA to come back and say, well, historically you didn't use very well and we saw some zero usage. Even though by the end of the school year may have used it, it doesn't matter because they're kind of looking back and that can impact what you get in the future. So just to be aware with that. All right, whoops, my screen here, moving on. Okay, so let's talk about the tracking systems. And where do you begin? There are two main tracking systems. One is called K-12 Food Service. The other is Processor Link. And then if you're a school that banks pounds with Nardone Brothers for cheese for pizza, they've got their own site or something, and they also should be emailing you your monthly usage report. So let's talk about K-12 food service, and we're going to look at each of these. So I'm going to step into K-12 because there are some things that really fall onto you as a responsible party in all this, and that is the very beginning of the school. You want to double check that both tracking systems are showing the correct processors you have bank pounds with, that your distributor or sales channel assignment is set up correctly. If you're going to get it through Cisco, it's showing Cisco. If you're a direct ship school, it's going to show direct ship. If you're getting it through the TDA contracted warehouses, such as Fort Frozen Food or Central Texas Food Bank, it's probably going to show direct shipment. That's how they tag that. So don't get too confused on that one. So let's step into, first I want to look at K-12, and let me get this pulled up here. All right. Put this over. Okay, hopefully you guys are seeing that. Oh, and I've had a request to touch on our folder, the Google folder at the end of this training, which I will do. Okay, so I just kind of picked a school this morning and I chose Allen ISD to use as an example. When you log in to K-12 food service, you're hopefully going to see a screen that looks like this. And you've got a lot of options over here to look at overviews, account balances, some reports, all that good fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click on account balance because that's what loads every single processor. And you might even see some processors where you didn't bank pounds with, but maybe you did historically in the past, and they may still be showing up and it may show zero. I don't know if K-12 is cleaning that up anymore or not, but it would look something like this. And even for an example, this school probably had some ConAgra in the past or ES Foods, but obviously no activity. So you'll see something like that. Now, if you don't have a login to K-12, you can set up your own login, and we can certainly help you with that. But it is basically a online question-driven, sign up situation. You should see your processors that use K-12 food service. Not all processors are in K-12 food service. Processors have a choice. They can go to Processor Link, they can go to K-12, or like Nardone, do their own thing. Each one costs money. Each one offers different types of reports and services. So it's kind of like choosing a grocery store if you've got a couple of those in your area. You get to pick the one you really like to shop with, okay? Same with processors. They're going to pick the one that best fits their needs and their budget. In K-12, you should see a distributor assignment. And it should show you, if you're going through like Allen ISD, Labatt, it should show you the name of the distributor. If you're utilizing Cisco or Gordon's, it should say Cisco or Gordon's or some other distributor that you're using. If you are a direct ship school, you might see direct ship listed. K-12 has the ability to set up both to be active. And we do see that sometimes. And sometimes schools will utilize a processor both ways. Gets a little tricky, and it also depends on the processor if they're willing to do that in the system. K-12 has been a little more friendly with that versus Processor Link. All right. So if you are needing to change your sales channel or your distributor assignment, I gotta remember where I am. And yours is going to look a little different. So I clicked on account menu, I think yours is on the left-hand side, but because I can see all schools, mine is actually on the right-hand side, but it's under account management and it's called distributor assignment. So you see it over here in the right-hand column. You simply click on that and you notice anything that's underlined is typically a link to something else. So if you happen to catch that you should be showing Labatt, but it shows direct ship only, or maybe it shows a completely different distributor name, this is where you want to go. And you want to update, and obviously I'm not going to change anything in here. Alan would want to scream at me, right? Alan ISD. But you can replace or terminate, however that's going to look, or even request an additional distributor. So there's lots of things you can do here, and I won't mess with that, but that's just the route, the path you take in K-12. This is your responsibility. And most of the time, brokers or processors are getting it correctly. Most of us co-ops send in a report to the processors that shows what's the pass-through method our schools are using. Is it Labatt? Is it Cisco? Is it through the contracted warehouse? Are they direct shipment? But sometimes they rely on what's there the previous school year, and it may not get updated. So that responsibility does fall on you. Get that updated. Now, let's talk about Processor Link. It looks a little different in Processor Link. Again, you're not going to see all the processors here because some of them are over there in K-12 on the tracking part of the system, because we all know that Processor Link has another side to it that co-ops use for pre-order. So we're going to talk about that later on. There are a couple of different views. When you log into Processor Link, you're going to see this view. From a spreadsheet where you see your balance, you can hover over these colored bars, and it's going to tell you what you started with, how much has been shipped so far, what's your remaining balance, and then your percentage of your remaining balance. Now, up here, accounts, if you click on this, you get more of a spreadsheet looking screen. And this is where Processor Link calls it a sales channel instead of a distributor assignment. So you have to get comfortable with some different language. And you see the little pencil icon, and as I hover over it, it pops out a window, request sales channel change. So if you are in here and you see, oh, wait a minute, you know, my Land O'Lakes is showing direct shipment, I've been ordering that through Labatt. Well, if that's happening, and the same thing with K-12, if you've got a wrong distributor assignment, you're not going to draw down your pounds. And that could go on all year if you haven't double checked these two programs or double checked with Nardone. So you want to make sure you're getting this right away. This is the key right here. All you would do is click on that little pencil icon. It opens up a new window, and then you're going to select a sales channel. You would go down the list, find whatever sales channel you're utilizing. If you're using Cisco, or maybe you're using US Foods, whatever that looks like, you're going to click on it and you're going to request that change. Now, I will say between both programs, K-12 and Processor Link, it can take up to 2 weeks, 10 business days. We tend to see Processor Link a little faster than K-12, and my understanding is that they're not getting a notification. It's on the processor to check the system for alerts that sales channel or distributor assignment needs to be updated. So just understand that if you catch an error, it could be 2 weeks before it's corrected. And if you're ordering products in that 2 weeks through Labatt and your system showed direct shipment, you may not be getting your drawdown. So when we get those phone calls to troubleshoot why are your pounds not being used, this is probably the first thing we're going to look at. So I want you to get in the habit before school even starts, that first part of August, jump into these systems. Make sure all your information is correct. Now, if you're looking at pounds and not understanding why some of your pounds are not loaded, that is because some of the processors don't do what's called front loading, meaning you don't get all your pounds up front before they even get the truckloads of commodity material into their warehouses. So if you're looking at your balances, some of the processors might look a little lower, like Donley Farms doesn't front load. Wawona Fruit does not front load. I think those are the main two that I can think of. but you might be seeing some differences there as well, which means if you're purchasing some Wawona fruit and they haven't loaded your strawberry pounds, you're not going to be using your pounds. They're using commercial fruit to sell to you, and it's not going to draw down. So that's where some of your planning comes into play as to when you know you're going to get your pounds and when can you really start using them. So if you are banking pounds with processors that you know don't front load, and maybe it's going to be the first 2 months of school that you can't use those pounds, you want to be mindful that the pounds you bank can be used within that 7 to 8 month window of time that you actually have the pounds to use. Because again, that's that forecasting and banking pounds appropriately so that you don't get caught with excess. All right. That is how you do your updating in K-12 and Processor Link. Now, if you're with our co-op and you need a login to Processor Link, please just contact one of us, Elizabeth or me, and we can get that set up for you. If you're with another processing co-op and they could do that for you as well. If you're individual, you can set one up yourself also. So just know that that got a lot of options there to deal with that. All right. Where is my PowerPoint? Here we go. Oh. Okay. And then I've never been to Nardone site to look at their tracking. I don't have access to that. And I do have a report we'll look at later that came from Nardone. So some of you might be using them and know what that looks like. It's a pretty hefty report. It's got a lot of information. All right. Let's talk about setting up your tracking method. Now, we came up with some ideas, of course, from our standpoint and our perspective of what might be great. But then there are also ways to work within the two tracking systems and utilize an Nardone report if you're using them from what you get from downloaded reports and verifying your sales per month. Some of you may want to be on top of it per week. That might feel easier. You're getting an invoice in every week, you're getting that delivery, and it's easy. You've got the invoice in your hand, just step into a spreadsheet and verify it if you've got the spreadsheet, or you wait till the end of the month and then you download a monthly report out of K-12 or out of Processor Link and go forth. Either way, you've got to have some kind of documentation when TDA asks you during that AR. They have not explained they require any kind of a special format. They just want to see that you're paying attention. And if something's not happening within a month window of time with your pounds, they're not going anywhere, it's easier to catch and get back on track more quickly than going halfway through the school year, 6 months in, and all of a sudden looking and going, oh, whoa, wait a minute, I haven't used any of my pounds. What are you talking about? And then it takes a couple months to figure out what's going on and get everything back on track. And now you've lost all that usage time. And now you've got a situation where maybe you don't get new pounds for the next school year. So we don't want to get trapped into that little vicious cycle. So monthly verification, weekly verification, whatever works for you is going to be fine as long as you've got some documentation. So let's take a look at what we can do with each system, and then of course what Elizabeth and I came up with for you if you want to dig into the weeds, right? So Processor Link, and I would tell you a few years ago, USDA announced that sales verification was no longer required, but it was really about that verification with the processors. And it kind of spilled over into, oh, the school district, is no longer required to verify your sales. And I don't even think we saw that question pop up in an AR until this past year, when all of a sudden TDA was asking for some kind of a sales verification report. And so, of course, now we're scrambling, like, okay, how can we help everyone with this? Processor Link never removed the ability to verify your transactions. That is still in their system. They never took it away, and you can still do that. And I still see schools verifying their transactions on a monthly basis. K-12 did remove that capability. However, both systems allow you to download a transaction summary report, which you can then take and use to verify. Nardone Brothers, that's the spreadsheet you're going to get hopefully from them. And if you're not getting it from them, reach out to your sales rep for Nardone. If you're using a distributor, then reach out to your processing co-op, and let's make sure that you are receiving those reports on a monthly basis, because they are supposed to be sending those. All right, I'm going to take a look at both of these programs. And I don't know, Elizabeth, did you want to talk about this side of things, since the reporting side is your forte? Do you want to jump in? Elizabeth is our queen of reports.
Sorry. You may go ahead and talk about the inventory report, you mean?
No, did you want to talk about K-12 and Processor Link? Or I guess I've got the reports, don't I? So I'll.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I forgot that I had the reports pulled up. Okay, so let's go to K-12 first. So when you are in, let's see, where's my, probably should have had you do this, right? Oh, account menu. So I was looking for account menu. Sometimes things in K-12 are a little small, so you have to dig for the proper link. In K-12, like I said, there's no place for you to step in online and look at the transactions for the month and click, yes, you verify these sales. However, they've got what's called a transaction summary that you can download and create a report right from that transaction summary. And it's pretty cool. Click on the link and it's going to load, and it's going to show you the report parameters. I think we get the ability to have parameters. It's being a little slow. This is the one thing about K-12. It can take a few minutes. Seriously. Okay, here we go. So you'll notice title is transaction summary, and it is by month, and you can click and default it into September because that's the current month. However, if I wanted to look at the August list of transactions, and I can, and it tells you all kinds of information, like, is it a transfer? Is it, deposit, an adjustment? What's going on with the transactions in August? It tells you if there's a distributor involved or if it's a direct ship. Obviously, you're going to get the product number. If there's an invoice number involved, it's going to show that. And then it's listing each of the products. And it tells you, unfortunately, that top row is not frozen, so I have to scroll back up. The case quantity in each of these transactions, total weight, donated food pounds, and then the pass-through value on those donated food pounds. Now, this has very little cheese pounds, it looks like, because if the school had ordered 3 cases and the total drawdown, donated food pounds is your amount of drawdown, is 9.18. So that tells me there's just barely a little over 3 pounds of cheese in that case of bean and cheese burritos. So that's how you look at this report. Now, if you want to download this report.
So Carrie, can I chime in just for a second?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you've mentioned about parameters. You can filter. So over where it says page 1 of 2, there you go. And you can select for this particular case, maybe the order, just the order type. Yeah. Maybe is there a way to
filter by manufacturer?
You can filter by manufacturer. You can leave them all checked. On there, that order type, you can uncheck like the deposits, carryover, transfer, things like that. If you're just looking for like products that they actually received from the distributor.
Okay, and order dash REB would be a rebate, so you're probably gonna see rebates. I don't know, an adjustment. I'm not sure what CDT is.
Yeah, I don't know either. And then that way it limits every other things that they're on the screen that they don't want to see.
Okay, so yeah, the little filter over here in the right top corner there. And you can download this. I can't remember where you go to. Oh my gosh, I've lost the little, oh, here we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I just had to scroll up. So over here where it says transaction summary, there is a down arrow and you click on that and then you can export the page. And let me show you, once you export that, you can look, I've made it a little more pretty than what it actually exports as, but just so you can see. I took the report and I did save it as an Excel spreadsheet. And then I just made it look a little nicer with color and bold headings and the ability, oops, freeze that. The ability to, you know, scroll through and take a look at each product. I also added that column right there, and I just titled it CE verification, yes or no. Obviously, if this was a transaction, you receive the product, it's going to be a yes all the way down. But as you're checking your invoices, if you happen to see a product listed or number of cases and it's incorrect, that's going to allow you to catch an error. And I'm going to tell you, there can be errors in the tracking systems. I've been doing this for 13 plus years, and there's only been 2 occasions where I saw a school had some products listed as a transaction and a lot of pounds drawn out of their account. And they were like, that is not mine. And it ends up someone had basically mistyped the CEID, and those transactions belong to a different school. It went the other way. They were looking for transactions. They had their invoices. They didn't see them show up. It had been tagged to a different CE. So errors can happen. It's human data entry going on here in the tracking systems, or maybe it's computers these days. Maybe AI is doing it. Who knows? But I went ahead and just dropped in a column. How easy is that? You download a K-12 report, your transaction summary. This is for the month of August. We've got a date range here, and you can see that it's all through August. And I just added a column, so I can say yes or no. At the end of the school year, next year I go through an AR. TDA wants to see proof that I tracked my commodities. Guess what? I've got 10 of these showing that I said yes or no to receiving those exact products. How easy was that? Didn't take 5 minutes to add a column. Maybe a little more to make it look pretty, but you don't have to make it look pretty. That's up to you. So that's how it works in K-12. Now, Processor Link also has that ability to, let me get right back to where I need to be. Have to look at a different view. Has the ability to download a shipment summary. And like I mentioned before, you can verify your transactions in Processor Link. So when you log in and you're on your home screen, you'll see this verify by month. And it's going to show, you know, if you verified or not verified, and if you text something is incorrect. So you get to see it right here on the home screen. Now, if you want to take it this far and verifying the system, that is awesome. Do it. You don't have to, but you can certainly download a report that is called sales summary, right, Elizabeth? I hope that's right.
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
that's correct.
You know, when you hand the baton off to someone who is totally on top of it, you tend to lose your skills. That's all I'm saying right here. So sales summary, similar to K-12, where you see these dates up here, so you can look at each of the months throughout the school year, and it's going to present each processor, each product that you ordered and received, how many cases, the net weight, donated food value, donated food in pounds, and totals. So Processor Link gives you a little bit of a different view, because in K-12 they just gave you the total donated food pounds. Processor Link is going to tell you by case and then the total. So you can export this. So there's an export button right above the year to date, and you can export that into an Excel spreadsheet. I've got an example. I called it a shipment summary report. And of course, I made it pretty, of course. And it's going to look something like this. All the processors over here. Here's your date range, the product, tells you the destination. This one actually breaks it down by location. And then you've got all your information, number of cases, product numbers you ordered. There's that material code and totals. I did not add that column here, but you could certainly add the column in verified, received, whatever you want to call it, yes or no, and drop in your yes or no. Maybe you want to have a comment column. Make the report work for you. This is the easy button. And you can do the same for the Nardone report, because I do have an example. Now, I don't know how you guys receive the Nardone report, what it looks like. The report we get literally had every single one of our processing districts. I just whittled it down to one school in the A's, Aledo, but they give you quite a bit of information here at the top, where you could hide columns, delete columns that you don't need. But again, you've got, they can give you a projected usage. So let's see here. Here's your received year to date. Here's the amount that was transferred in with an ending inventory. And then they break it into percentage of commodity used, an average monthly usage, and so forth. And even a projected at the end of June. So you can stay on top of that percentage that's projected, your balance, to get that down to 5% of your beginning balance. Again, this is a report. You could add that column in for verification, just a notation. Yes, use, no, notes, whatever you want to do with that. I don't know if they send anything else that shows products, Elizabeth, to you. Do they just send your total pounds? Is that all they provide in that report?
That's all they provide to us. I'm not sure to what level of the information they sent to schools.
Okay.
They might give them more information. I understand the schools have access to the system, so they may see more.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what you guys see, but certainly for using Nardone, you know, try to figure out a way to make the report work. Now, other ideas. All right. So Elizabeth and I talked a lot and have looked a lot at different examples on tracking and what could you do if you were a person that would prefer to have something a little more detailed, maybe more simplistic looking, whatever that looks like. And so as she and I talked about all this, we kind of came up with some examples and some templates, and I have loaded those templates into the procurement tools Google folder for multi-region co-op. So if you have access to that folder, a lot of schools do, whether they're in the co-op or not, I set up a blank template that will automatically calculate percentages and totals for you in each of those templates. And so I'm just going to kind of show you quickly some ideas we had. So if you're not into the reports that download from the tracking systems or what Nardone provides for you, there is a way to create your own or use one of our templates. And even a really easy way that if you're using a co-op that uses ProcessorLink pre-order module, that you literally can copy and paste that report into this. So what you are looking at is the first template in that folder, and it's basically two options to track by product. And these are the products you selected in pre-order back in February. Or if you are a school that is not using pre-order, but obviously you have selected products that fit your menu, you can drop in your processors, the product numbers, what's the name of the product, bill type if you want, that's your pass-through method. Is it NOI through a distributor? Is it fee-for-service through a distributor? Or is it coming to you through the contracted warehouse or direct ship? Total cases banked. I'm calling it banked because we're tracking products and you're tracking the number of cases that you planned each month. So if you had total cases for the whole year, say this tangerine chicken, 200 cases for the whole year, and in May you had plans to pull in 12, excuse me, then this is what this would look like. Then you've got, there's a lot of columns missing here. Excuse me. So we've got August. This is how many cases were planned for this one product. Then we've got September. And the way this spreadsheet and tracking system is set up is you've got a column for the number of cases ordered in that month. You'll enter how many you received. And then here on the far right-hand side, you've got a calculating column that starts to add up everything you've received, and a calculating column that tells you the percentage that has been used of all your planned cases. And you've got a notes and comments column. So maybe you're struggling. Maybe the processor is shorting the distributor or shorting you, or they've discontinued some of your products. Whatever's going on, it helps you kind of track the reasons and alerts you, like, if you're 2 months in and you're having trouble getting some products, reach out to your co-op if you're using the co-op, or reach out to your distributor or your processor if you're getting it directly. Figure out what's going on and how can this be fixed, because you don't want to fall behind in your usage. So these auto calculate. Same thing if you just want to simply track by pounds. Now, TDA has not said anything about, do you have to track by product? Can you track by pounds? They just want to see that you're tracking your usage and you're staying on top of it, because the goal, 95%. And how do you get that done? You've got to stay on top of it no matter what that looks like for you. So again, a similar setup. You've got this time just your processors, the material number. So if you're using and a description of the material. So this is the large chicken. These are the chicken legs. If you're using Asian Food Solutions for their beef. So this all came out of pre-order report, but if you're a school that's not using pre-order and processor link, you could easily fill this in. You're banking pounds, and if you're going to end up, using the commodity calculators, you have all this information, the material and the material descriptions. Pre-order includes a value per pound, so I left it in there just to kind of match the report. Then again, we've got July, pounds used, August, pounds used. Again, the report tallies automatically total pounds used and what percentage has been used to help you stay on track. Because if you're on a 9 or 10 month usage window, you need to be using anywhere from 10 to 12% of your pounds every month, unless you've got something that's seasonal or you're holding it for Lent or whatever, and you're going to use those pounds at a very specific time of the school year. So this is template number 1. Another thought we had, and Elizabeth and I both kind of like this, even though it's a little more in manual setup for you as a user, and it did require instructions. It's by month, and that might be a little easier for those of you that want to track each month individually instead of just cumulative year to date or all the months on one spreadsheet or one tab. We basically set you up in a separate tab for each month. Now, this is template 2. It's by products. Oh no, this is by pounds. Sorry, this is by pounds. Again, same information that came out of that pre-order report. Same information you would get from a commodity calculator if you're using those. You would enter total pounds that were banked, and then how many pounds you planned for August or September or any of these months. How many did you order? How many were used? Place for comments. In this template and the other one that is set up by month for products, there's a totals tab. This tab is set up that automatically calculates total pounds used to date, and it pulls from each one of these monthly tabs. Same on the percentage used to date. It pulls from each one of these monthly tabs. So you're always aware on the totals tab, where are you? The current date. So if I'm in August and I've used 15%, I think I'm doing pretty good. If I'm really low and I've only used 1 or 2%, I'm in August, or maybe I'm in September, might be a little concerned on what's going on with those pounds, unless I've dedicated pounds to a certain time of the school year. So just some ideas from us. If you don't want to use the K-12 and processor link reports or not done report and make that work for you, we've thrown you some ideas. You could even build off this. Maybe you want something even more elaborate. We have seen some very involved reports from some of our school districts that were really impressive, but very involved. So you've got choices there. All right. What have I got next coming up here?
So Carrie, I wanted to chime in for just a second.
Yeah.
Because you raised a good point about TDA not being clear yet on verifying by product or pounds. I do think that the end goal is probably to verify that the pounds they sent to a processor is what they got back.
Okay.
But even if they do it by product, they still have the pounds per product. So I think in the end, that still gets them to verifying that they got their total pounds.
That would make sense. Well, and also, you know, even with these spreadsheets, if you've ordered a product and the processor or the distributor had to substitute something and you got, let's say, just a different product that may not be in your list. Tracking pounds might be a little easier, you know, but products is definitely going to be more defined. It might also allow you to look back and see where were there issues with products, and maybe you don't try to get that product in the next year. So it could highlight some areas that cause concern for future ordering, you know. But again, like Elizabeth said, it really, there hasn't been anything that's been pre-formatted by TDA or anything about, hey, we need to see this in the way of report. They just want to see that you're staying on top of it. And how are you tracking, you know, whether it's product or pounds. But pounds would clearly make, you know, more sense. So when we talk about reports, and I talked about that pre-order report, and if you're using a co-op that uses pre-order, you can export that monthly case report tab, and it downloads all three. It downloads your full list of products. It downloads in a second tab on the same spreadsheet the monthly case request. So where you laid out, hey, out of these 200 cases, I want 50 this month, 25 the next month, and then 3 months later, I want 10, whatever that looked like. And then you're also getting that process diversions report. And if you don't remember where to go for that, let me just pull this up. You're looking at your pre-order, and you know, keep in mind the pre-order has every single processor that was awarded by your co-op in the pre-order. And so when you open that up, and I'm using Allen ISD again. I don't know if they're on the call, but thank you if you are. I didn't ask permission, so you know, ask for forgiveness. Anyway, this is what the pre-order looks like. And as you know, most of us co-ops do require that you lay it out for us, because we're sending processors reports that give them this kitchen sink of a view of what's your plan for all the products that you selected with each processor. Oh, I just got a you're welcome from Kirsten. Kirsten, yes. All right, that was a sidetrack. So you're looking at a pre-order, the monthly case request, but once you fill this out, you get that diversion report that this is going to be your saving grace for web SEM. And if you're not in a co-op, maybe think about joining a co-op. You know who I'm talking? I'm talking to you. Because this is an amazing report in pre-order, and in web SEM, you guys have got to enter your pounds on a entry by bi-monthly, and some of them are even in cases. And I know that the guys, Fidelis, are working on trying to get that information in here. But when you export this report, you get a report that looks like, and I've got like 1,000 reports, right? I knew we'd be unpacking a lot. You get all three of those in just one touch of that export. So you get your full list of products, how you want them delivered, what you entered into the system, total number of cases, all that good information. You get your monthly case request as you filled that screen out, and then your diversions. And so it's really easy to take this information and copy and paste it into a tracking spreadsheet, or make it your own, do your own setup as a tracking. And this is literally based on what you forecasted and planned, and it was your commitment. Yeah, we are planning to use these products on our menu. That's why we selected them and had this system calculate how many pounds we need for each of those products. So it doesn't get more defined than this if you're using a co-op that's using processor link pre-order module. And most of us do. Most of us across the state, we are using this program because it's so phenomenal. And honestly, we're married to it. We can't get away from it. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because it gives you guys a vast amount of great information. All right, I know I'm starting to run out of time, so I don't want to lose where we are in this. All right. Now I'm going to pass the baton to Elizabeth, and I did have this meeting go a little longer for those of you that want to stick around and see what MRPC provides to its members on a monthly basis. If you're not in our co-op and you're curious, then great. But anyway, I'm going to pass the baton to Elizabeth so she can share her screen and talk about the MRPC monthly usage reports. What are they about? Where are they located? Because that's something new that literally just got changed last week. And how do you understand them? How do you read them? And how can you make use of them to your benefit for the whole school year? All right, Elizabeth, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will let you take it away.
All righty. See here. Make sure I share the right screen. Okay, so this is the inventory report, but before we get to that, like Carrie had mentioned, we did create just last week a new commodity reports folder. Everyone that we had on our D list as a processing school received an email from us sharing access to this folder. If you didn't get that access, just let us know and we will share that with you. So this is the folder, or this is a report I basically email out every month. So it's an inventory report as of a particular date. So it's showing you your usage with a processor year to date. So on this report, we have the school district name, the RA, sales channel. This is another way to verify that your information for the sales channel is correct. It's a quick way to, at a glance to view if you need to make any changes or not. Then you've got the processor name, and then as well, what tracking system that this processor uses. Then we have the USDA commodity code, the USDA commodity name, and then we have the carryover column. As Carrie mentioned in her presentation, carryover pounds or pounds at the end of June get swept. And those are the pounds that are then used for the next school year that TDA fills as many new requests that they can with those pounds. Now, there are a few processors that missed the deadline of having all the carryover pounds or the ending balances swept at the end of June. So there are a few of you that may have a balance in this column. Just ignore that, because in the end, what the school did was that what the processor did, they took it from your total available pounds. I'm working with those processors to go behind the scenes to get that cleared out, so there's no confusion that you didn't actually have carryover pounds with them. Then you have your new pounds column. This is any pounds that actually were paid using your entitlement. Okay. And then again, the pounds that were swept at the end of June were assigned to schools that requested pounds with a particular processor. It didn't charge against your entitlement, but it went towards filling some of your new requests for the new school year. So that's going to be in the transferred and or free pounds column. So right now, all the pounds that you see in column K are free pounds. Now, as the year proceeds and TDA opens up the transfer opportunities, maybe you donate some of your pounds to another school, you're going to see that amount deducted from your total available pounds. You're going to see a transaction number here as well. So this is going to just fluctuate once that transfer opportunity opens up. And I did forget to mention the pending allocation column. This only impacts processor link. As Carrie mentioned earlier, it has to do with processors that do not front load pounds. All your pounds at the beginning of the school year are not provided to you. For example, Donley Farms, they do not front load all of the pounds, but they assign a fair share amount to the schools that requested pounds with them based on the trucks that have been purchased with USDA. So once they have a truck that's been purchased, then they're going to take a fair share amount of that and give some of that to you. and they're going to put it in the pending allocation. Those pounds are not yet available for you to draw down using your distributor. Once the truck is actually received, then they're going to move those pounds from pending over to new pounds. And then at that point, it'll show up in your total available column. And then at that point, it'll show up in Labatt or Sysco, and you're able to start using those pounds at that point. Then you have column M, which is your usage column. It's pounds that you've used to date. And then you have your ending balance. This is how many pounds you would have remaining at the time that I ran this report. Then you've got your percent usage. So when you download this report out of the Google Drive, you want to download it for your records, because when you go into MRPC Google folder for commodity reports, this report is only going to be view only. It was the only way for us to prevent some of our members from editing some of the data. And so it's view only, then you can download it and then filter it to your school district. And then we've got monthly target usage. This particular column just says, based on a 10-month school year, your total amount of pounds divided by 10 gives you a target usage by month. This is how many pounds at least that you should be using on a monthly basis to get down to approximately 100% usage by the end of June. So again, this is just another resource report that we provide to you on a monthly basis. It's just a quick glance so that you can have readily available information out of K-12 and processor links, so you can see where you stand with each of those processors. If you have zero usage at any time in your report and you're not sure why, you feel like, hey, my staff's ordering the right product, or that you've been ordering product through your distributor and it's the correct one, but you're still showing zero usage, give me a call. I will do some research and we'll figure it out together as to why that might be incorrect. That's happened in the past. Sometimes it was that it was just that the school actually was ordering the wrong code. And sometimes it was, yes, the school's ordering the correct one, but that product wasn't available, so they were getting a subbed item. But again, if that's happening and you're having barriers, you're not sure how to overcome them, to having usage with your with any of your processors, just reach out and we'll work on that together. That in a nutshell is the inventory report. I do want to mention though, Carrie mentioned that in December, TDA is going to be having their annual December usage exercise. We want to have as few schools on that list as possible. There's going to be some of you that are going to be on there because you've got those seasonal items on that report, but I'm going to run a report probably mid-October, and I'm going to post it on our Google Drive, and it'll be of just the schools that have zero usage. I'm going to narrow it down, and I'll send out an email saying, hey, take a look at that report. It's a quick glance to see if you have zero usage. And if you're on that report, let's definitely find a way for you to get those products ordered so that you're not on that TDA usage report for anything other than seasonal items. Carrie, you want to, anything, want to chime in?
No, that sounds great. And I think that's a great goal. And we know we're going to see some, especially for, fish and lint and various reasons. So, but again, I fall back on the word communication. That is the key to success in all of this. And if we all keep communicating, especially if you are having issues with getting something, please reach out, let us help, because that's what we do. That's our job. Now, stick around for those of you that are with Multi-Region Co-op. If you want, I'm going to walk through our Labatt bid catalog and talk about how you can customize that for your commodities so that you create the short list for your ordering team or for yourself, because typically do this every year in a separate video, but I'm going to include it because you're here. If you've got another 15 minutes or so, great. I do want to thank everyone that has attended today, and I didn't see any questions coming through on chat. So hopefully we gave you some good information, gave you some good ideas maybe take what we provide for you in the procurement tools folder on our Google Drive. That is available to anyone. It's there, you know, still ideas, use it as a resource, reference, whatever you can do. Don't recreate the wheel. Basically, there are a lot of wheels out there already done for you, and take advantage, you know, lots of resources. But
Yeah, and Carrie, I did forget to mention,
uh-huh.
I forgot to mention that, okay, so this is the Google commodity reports folder. There is a list, processing school members with shared access. Please take a look at that file. If your name or your email address is not on there, but you need access to it, send me an email and I will share that access with you. We are keeping track of everyone that we provided access to so that we can just double check. I know I had a school this morning email me and I had they had a person who hadn't received it and we just had a typo in the email address. So we got that fixed. So there may be others in that same situation. So please take a look at that list and reach out if you need to, if you need access.
Right. Yeah, great. Okay, so like I said, and you know, what I'm about to demonstrate, if you're using Cisco or another distributor, I'm sure you've got some type of a bid catalog or a spreadsheet where you've got your products. You may already be set up. But if you're using Labatt and Multi-Region Purchasing Co-op, this might be for you. And what we see happening a lot, and I'm not really sure how Cisco is set up. I've never worked with Cisco, and we do have some MRPC districts with Cisco. But in Labatt's ordering system, they will present, when you step in to place your order, they will present a history of what you received in the previous week or 2 weeks back, whatever that looks like. And if you've got ordering managers and they start ordering based off of what they're seeing in the system as history, if the week before or previously Labatt had to sub an item, but your ordering team or even you, we're all human, you order that item again, and then now it's again in your history, and you keep ordering that item. If you haven't been mindful that, wait a minute, that item is not with the processor that I've got banked pounds with, even though it still may be a chicken nugget or a beef patty or a slice of pizza, then all of a sudden you're intentionally ordering a product that is not drawing down your pounds that you didn't intend to order. And so I encourage you to keep an order guide by every computer or with every ordering manager, that when they go to place those orders, they're double checking that what they're ordering is matching what's on your order guide. And we try to make it super easy for you to downsize the beast of a catalog that we call our Labatt bid catalog. And I'm still trying to downsize it. I know that sounds scary, but it's scary with the size that it is. So I wanted to share with you how quickly and easily you can do that using filters and sorting, and also column A, which is called the My Products column. So let me share my screen and let me pull up this Labatt. Okay, so let me get this up a little bit so you guys can see it. All right, so this is the, as we all know it, the Labatt Bid Award Catalog. You're very familiar. We've got several tabs. First tab is every single product on bid, no matter what it is: food, produce, non-food, commodities. It's everything that we have awarded. But then I provide you with a processed commodities tab, and these are the products that if you've got banked pounds, it's going to draw down your pounds. And there are many ways to filter and sort. But what you could do, you've got column A called My Products. This is your column, and it's even on the All Products tab, and I think even on the Fresh Produce tab. So you could go through and quickly find by product code or, you know, by description, which products did you forecast, and you've got menu, and you could drop in an X or a Y or whatever that looks like in this column over here. Okay, this is one way of doing this. You get your X's in here, and then on the down arrow, you sort A to Z, and it's going to pull up all the products to the top that you placed an X in that column A. You could even filter, filter. unselect all or just uncheck blanks, only have the X's checked, and now you're only looking at the few items you need to order. Super easy. This is probably the cleanest and fastest way to do it. Now, if that's too much, maybe you've got hundreds of items and you would rather, and you're not losing anything. You see, I brought everything back. So let's say we're not going to use that My Products column, but instead we want to first filter it by processor, and then we're going to filter it down by commodity material. And that does a little more than just having only your items there. So first, I'm going to down arrow on manufacturer brand label. I'm going to unselect all. I'm going to say I've got, oh, I need to correct that. I'm going to say I've got Alpha Foods. That should be just one listing. We have some Brookwood Farms. Maybe we've got, let's see, what we're going to do here. Maybe we're doing fish. I like JTM. All right, we've got some Red Gold. Okay. All I did was minimize the list so I can only see the processors that I have banked pounds with. Okay, that's number one. Now, we all know that some of these processors have multiple commodity materials that you can process. So one of the things, and I'm just going to hide something over here first. You guys know how to hide columns. You just highlight the column, right click, hide. So let's say I need to make sure that, you know, I only processed beef with JTM, but I know that they've got other things. They've got turkey, they do cheese, they do all kinds of things, but I know that the only thing I processed was beef. Over here in the far right columns are the material, the commodity material information. First, it's the code. How many pounds of that commodity material are in a case? What's the value per pound? And I know for a fact that with JTM, maybe I'm not using some of these material codes. Now, if you're using processors that also use the same material codes, you would not want to take this path, because if it's, say, cheese, which is this 110242, but you're also using another processor that uses 110242, that might not be a good plan. But if you're not, you could remove the 110242 by unchecking it, clicking OK, and now you're not seeing any JTM that uses that 110242 cheese. Again, be mindful, because there might be another processor that utilizes that particular commodity material. One thing about getting this down to only your processors, a little easier time to come through, and maybe you want to then drop your X's in to only the products that you're going to use, or that you could use, or that you could accept a sub. So let's say they don't have the one beef product you want with JTM, but now you could come over here and minimize this to only the beef products. Get this done, the 100-154, and it's only JTM. And now you're only looking at the beef products with JTM. And so you could drop an X into each one of these and create that short order guide for your ordering team. You might even put a 1 as this is our first choice, but if we can't get this, a 2 is our second choice, a 3 or a 4. You could even kind of tackle it from that direction so that your ordering team knows, well, I can't get that one product, but second choice would be this as a subbed item. And this is really key, because as much as I love Labatt and their salespeople, some are great, some are good, and some are just trying to get through their day. I've seen the Labatt salespeople, and I don't know if Cisco does this or any other distributor does this, their salespeople, but they know you've got chicken nuggets menu for that day, and you're trying to order Tyson chicken nuggets. Maybe Tyson chicken nuggets are not stocked, but they've got some Pilgrim's chicken nuggets. What they're trying to do is match a product to what they know you've menued. You've got nuggets on the menu, they are going to find you nuggets. Sometimes they're not paying attention to the fact that, wait, yeah, you want nuggets, but you've got Tyson pounds, not Pilgrim's pounds. And so I need to call you and tell you, hey, we don't have the nuggets, but I can get in chicken strips, or I can get in a breaded patty with Tyson, because that's going to use your pounds. This is where, if you get a list going, shortened order guide for your people or for yourself, it's much easier to target what's another option with my processor that Labatt or Cisco or whoever might have stocked and that I can get in. Yes, it means a menu change in that next week or that very week, that upcoming week, but at least you're drawing down your pounds. So there are so many ways to filter this down and get it to where you're only really seeing what you want to order. So use this method. I mean, same method can be used on the all products tab. A little more cumbersome, it's all your products, but definitely use it for processed commodities. You can always bring everything back. It's not like you're deleting anything. Bring all this stuff back and it's all there. You know, I like the idea of the X's. Even if you were to just filter it to your manufacturers and then one by one, put an X by what you would order to draw down your pounds, what could be potential subs. They don't have that in. And now you've opened it up to easier flexibility, because now you're looking at, okay, what are my options? It's on bid. It's going to draw down my pounds. And yeah, I got to do a menu change, but we can pivot, shift, and do something a little different. This can work for anything. You could even do this with our commodity bid catalog. It's not set up with the my products column, but you can certainly drop one in and then filter and sort in a way that helps you be successful. So there's the big overview there. If you want a more personalized training, I'm always happy to do that and get you on the right path. Okay. Any questions? I know we ran over. I probably should have made this an hour-and-a-half training, but I was kind of hoping we just blaze through it, and we did. I appreciate you guys sticking around, and we are always happy to do a one-on-one helping you get set up with any and all of this, whether it's a tracking spreadsheet, it's customizing your bid catalogs, whatever that looks like, or getting the proper logins to the tracking systems. So use us. That's what we're here for. All right, that's all I've got today. If you have any questions, you have the ability to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, or type it into the chat panel. I'll stick around for another 5 minutes for anyone that needs anything.
Carrie, do you want to do a quick view of your MRPC Google folder?
Oh, sure, we can do that. Let's see here. All right. Okay. If you are not familiar with how to get to the Google folders and you are a member, you want to come to the MRPC pages, and if you don't have our pages bookmarked, I just highly recommend getting those bookmarked, and that's, you know, clicking on the star, or if you're in another browser, clicking on, you know, a bookmark to bookmark the page. But we have a members tab, and you would, right now it's still the same MRPC member 23, validate the password, and it's going to take you to this page, Co-op members Google folders, and you can click anywhere in that gray bar, and it's going to open up more details and a link to the Co-op member folder. Now, I did set this up to where you can just go right into the main folder, which gives you all the subfolders. However, if you want to bypass that and just go directly to any one folder, then you can do that. So we do have a procurement review documents folder. That's all of our solicitations and evaluations, published ads, bid responses, all the good fun stuff for your administrative review, the procurement phase of that review. We've got specific folders, such as for school year 22, last school year 23, and of course, we're now building the school year 24 folder for many things. That's where you're going to find current bid catalogs, you know, produce pricing, production and price issues, Buy American letters, all that's in there. I need to update this. We did move our commodity reports into a different folder, which is a restricted folder now. Unfortunately, we had a breach and some ugliness in social media for one of our districts. It was quite sad. Procurement tools. This is a very popular folder and you could just access that one directly. So you could click on any one of these links and get right into that folder, or you could go to the main folder. It's going to take you off-site to the Google Drive, where you're going to see all those separate folders that you could have clicked on directly. Procurement tools, just double click that to open. And this is anything and everything that I think you guys could use as reference, as resources, even just take it and own it. All these things like attachments are literally the same attachments that MRPC uses in our solicitations. It's what I'm using today. So I promise you they are compliant. There are some things in here that I've created for the districts, like the Buy American Provision Justification Form. Can't get any bigger of a title than that. Examples of categories from small and micro. I did insert that into the procurement procedures template this year. And in this folder, that's where you find the code of conduct template if you are using that system. All kinds of things in here. Certifications, the federal, and then I've also got the state in here for solicitations. You literally can just take that and insert it into your bid, change the title on the first page, it's there. Here are those tracking spreadsheets that we just looked at. The template one was the by product and by pounds, just all months on one tab. Template 2 is, I believe, by products, a monthly tab, and template 3 is by pounds, a monthly tab. So jump in there, grab those if you want a starting point, or if you want to use them in the way they're set up, or just as a reference. But lots of good things in here. Anyway, that's how you get to the procurement tools folder. Anything else, Elizabeth, you want me to show?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone sticking around for the bonus. I'm going to call it bonus. And always appreciate you guys attending these sessions. There are 4 more spotlight series to come, and I promise I'll be more on track with that hour session, because I know your time is precious and I appreciate you spending your time with us. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next spotlight series. Have a great afternoon, everyone.